Unmuted, record, good to go.
One second.
We have money. Spending money. We both spent money, we got more money last month. In fact, we actually spent down a little bit of what we had last month. So, we're doing well. At this point, as you can see from the treasurer's report, we only have $1.5 million to be able to do. I think we're gonna start spending some of Amsterdam's money because we haven't done much on that. We've got a demolition project, if I remember.
Yeah, we have $50,000 going to the DePaul project. There, I believe it's, the demolition is complete?
Not yet, no.
Okay, they're still working on it?
They're getting close.
Yeah, so I go that side. You feeling good?
Absolutely.
Good.
So, if you can see on the report, where we are, we're still in good shape. We are proceeding along. We're not going to be able to spend money.
I would just also say with Amsterdam, Nick is talking to the mayor about some of the specific project funding that's been allocated to land banks to apply for to help, in a perfect world, minority developers set a portfolio up. So he's identified some properties that we should discuss as a board, how, what scope might look like to acquire some city properties if we can find the right development team. So something we might want to discuss, but related to how we're going to spend out that Amsterdam money.
As of the end of last month, we had some outstanding checks, which don't show really here, if I'm not mistaken, about $14,000 that we had issued that simply hadn't been cashed. So actually, that $1.5 million, 71,000 is actually a little bit less. That's sort of showing what we actually had in the bank. I think, looking from what I could see, we have very, very little receivable at this point. I think
Yeah, so admin four is that is just tracking our last enterprise round of funding. We received the remaining money outstanding. They took the end date of 6/30/2021, extended it till the end of the year. The only money that we have left in that is some of the funding for the habitat projects, and we have a few dollars left for administrative expenses. We should discuss how we will continue to fund the administration of the land bank. We have money in accounts, but now that it's not clearly out of a grant, it's something that we should figure out to proportion it appropriately. So that's something that would be a future conversation for the board or just a finance committee, maybe in general, as we talk about budgeting.
Yeah, and I can certainly add, from an administrative perspective, I know that we can spend down, or we can kind of, I don't want to call it austerity, but we can figure out what the spend down needs to be until we can allocate additional funds. The governor has come out with some of the dollars that you spoke of, right? Where
Yeah,
there's
for project specific, so
Project
it
specific.
limits the admin money.
But I've also been able to secure dollars out of the American Recovery Act to be set aside for continued land bank operations. So I think it is a finance discussion. I don't want to say a dollar amount and then it's not delivered on, but we've already discussed how do we allocate dollars for this operation. And I'm reaching out to the mayor of Amsterdam as well from that contribution because all municipalities received some of those benefits.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah, as far as continuing with that, same thing as far as money, we got drew down about $200,000 in May. I don't
Yeah,
have the precise figure on something like that that we did. So that reduced one balance.
yeah,
Unless anybody has any questions, I'll move the finance report.
Okay. So thank you, Joe, for that, and thank you, Bob, for kicking us off. I appreciate everyone's consideration. Okay, so Chairman and Executive Director's report. I did take some notes. Lots of activities going back the last 30, 45, 30, 60. And not the least of which is, again, we've had some tremendous activity and some exposures and some accelerating projects in all our municipalities. So here in Schenectady, if anyone read the paper recently, we had a great highlight reel about land bank activities. 760 Eastern is a habitat project, and we're going to leverage that same kind of model on Prospect. So David had some great coverage for the land bank and just allocating and advocating rather for that model. We've tremendous amount of effort, obviously, in the Eastern Corridor, 25 houses demoed, $19 million Renaissance Square, St. Mary's, $4 million in Knott Street, the My Side Corner cleanup. That's driving the support that we're asking in the city for some CDBG block grant dollars. We're going to talk about that tonight. And so, all the activities that we've been doing over the last 4, 5, and 6 years, again, to momentum, begets more momentum. We're seeing similar activities in Amsterdam. The DePaul project is coming along. Demo is underway, so that's a transformative project in the south end of Amsterdam. So we're excited about this continued activity. And so are my legislative colleagues, which is why I think we're going to be successful in securing those recovery dollars. American Recovery Act dollars for continued land bank operations. I've talked to the mayor of Schenectady. I've talked to the county legislature. Bob Martin was reappointed. You were reappointed to the board. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you're still sitting here with us, and I appreciate your contributions. I do want to share out member expiration dates. Some of us will be coming up, in the next year, so I want to get those out. And then lastly, certainly not least, Cocoa House. We talked 6 or 7 months ago about how do we change, how do we continue to drive revitalization activities in our community that aren't just demos and maybe habitat rehabs. And we talked about how we can do outreach with other organizations who are doing outreach as well. And the Cocoa House is one of the ones that we thought was making a significant impact. 25 years in the making. Will Rivas joined just a few years ago. He's got a great origin story and, where he came from and what Cocoa House meant to him, what his own life experience meant and how he's able to drive an impact into our community. So they put, 1,800 backpacks in kids' hands over the last few years, and over 1,000 kids have been mentored. And so we talked again a few months ago, 6 months ago, about how can we push, how can we change ourselves. So we obviously moved last month with our Metroplex, our grant to our Metroplex put a grant in play with the support of the land bank to help them secure the property next door. They've got the property behind them. They're going to be doing an entrepreneurial center, an urban garden, and expanding their program space. And so that's real impact. I thank the board for that commitment because I think that's going to be significant. And we're going to continue to lead into our organization or into our community wherever we can. And I'd like to see some of those same activities in Amsterdam as we move into the the remainder of 21 and into 22, 23 calendar years. So that's all I had. I just want to kind of give you, again, a highlight reel. There's lots of activities. And I think there's some real support for more capacity as we move forward.
Besides newspaper publicity, both consent articles are on Facebook and accessible. So that probably gives us a lot more coverage.
Yeah, sure. Social media outreach and coverage is substantial. And, again, the Cocoa House is really accelerating in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. And we're a piece of it. We by no means are the lead support mechanism. We are simply adding to his structural capability, and we're happy to do it. And like I said, I'm excited for what Paul's gonna do.
And if anybody sees anything on, in the media that you think would be a good thing for us to put up on our social media, to share it, because we have flipped over to using a page on Metroplex for our website right now. It's very functional to use our document drop, but I'm going to rely more on social media to put up our headlines of, like the stories in the Gazette. Feel free to send me the link. Happy to put it up. I usually try to link the city or town where we've done the work. So I think it's a great way to get the message across of the work that's being done.
And I'm assuming that this morning's activity you got to know about quite late, because I saw afterwards there was an activity at 11 this morning.
Oh, the HUD meeting?
Yeah.
I think it was yesterday.
Yes,
That was
Yesterday,
Yeah.
okay. I shut up on my Facebook page today, this morning.
because that's when I thought about posting it. No, I mean, I think that was a terrific meeting.
It was, yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Center, yeah.
Yeah, just something to get more people involved, just to show up. If you
Yeah.
know about it a day or two in advance, people could come to
Mhm.
it. That was the only comment.
Yeah, we didn't participate. The city, we just do so much together. There was just some references to the land bank's work. I think it shows everything's going with the homes program.
Mhm.
So I just felt, I was actually thinking about you, Joe.
Well,
You told me you don't have the Gazette.
Yeah, no, I mean, the reaction is knowing the HUD people and the HUD people, be able to go there to say, the HUD people like to be able to see local people.
Yeah,
They're saying,
definitely.
thank you, and we're working on this type of thing, you know that as well as I do.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
more that you get, not who are city staff who are being paid to say that, but the volunteers make the
Yeah.
HUD people much happier that they can go back and say, oh, they're really doing something.
Mhm. Yeah, and HUD was virtual. It did look like on Facebook that there was like an event, but I don't know that it was like an event that the
Yeah.
public joined. It was more of like a press release that was like half virtual.
I wasn't
So
certain.
it
that-
was- Yeah.
I
yeah,
saw
it
it
did
from
look
Habitat.
like
I
that.
said something at
Yeah.
11 o'clock. I was
Mhm.
thinking-
Right,
looking
I
at it,
did
and I
see
didn't
that
see it
too, and I was like a
afterwards.
little confused because I was
Well, yeah,
like.
and then, so what I'm trying to do is, Better Community Neighborhoods has their financial literacy stuff that they're doing. And then Habitat has, we're doing so much with them. Trying to gather as much of that and broadcast it as much as possible. So that's, I just noticed that
Yeah.
because I knew
Mhm.
yesterday was home ownership day, I believe. I thought it was a good message to get across.
Well,
because-
yesterday was Walter Simpkins Day.
Oh, did we change it to alter? That's a wonderful
Yes,
day.
the
So
resolution.
to bring it together, we've had great momentum.
Yes.
The community is benefiting and the community is responding, and so let's be proud of what we've accomplished. I say that a lot. I want to keep saying that because it's been an effort.
Yeah,
You guys have all made that happen, so.
and it's
The
the
executive director's report.
Yeah, that's the opportunity to be able to make certain funders when they come around and know
You got it.
this type of thing. And that's why I say, the people who are not, or the volunteers are very important to get into those types of activities.
So we do have 4 items. for
Yeah, I would
consideration
just say-
tonight. I want to hand it off.
Everything that you said, I just add that, really positive momentum happening on Crane Street. So, we're helping them with their beautification efforts, really bringing in some artistic talent to help them with that. Better Community Neighborhoods is looking at their next 3 New York Main Street funded projects that they bid out, and they're working with their property owners, so more facade improvements. And at the same time, really making great progress. DePaul is under contract for the Mount Pleasant Diner at this point,
Oh,
which brings that whole development area together. And we sent a note on to Christian, her team, and the mayor just to make sure they're aware that we're ready to start really talking about those next steps of what a development will look like. And we're going to make sure we're doing that outreach with the merchants and the neighborhood association. On a door-to-door basis to really make sure everyone's on board, understands the project, and how these other larger projects have really impacted corridors across the city.
let's make sure we conclude those merchants association because,
We will be at Bridge Church tomorrow at 9 and 10 with 2 different ones. So we're doing that work.
great, excellent.
Happy to have anybody who wants to come.
Okay, so we do have 4 items for consideration tonight. The very first, I alluded to it earlier, 110 Prospect Street, it's resolution 2021-14, David, can you summarize?
Sure. So we talked about this last month when we approved the asbestos abatement and some pre-development money. Went back to BKJ Construction, who has already been agreed to do the workforce development training and the renovation at the Strong Street property, now Prospect. He gave us a schedule of values for the $153,000. That was our Strong Street contract. Because we're pushing this towards homeownership, it was very clear to me that we want to put on a new roof, a 20-year product, not give someone a slate roof. That's, yeah, it's just at the point where it's past its useful lifetime. And, make sure we really do the work right. So, working with the city, with their CDBG funding, we'd like to continue with BKJ and move this project forward.
Any questions?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Moved, thank you very much. That's for. Second item for consideration is 133 Edison Ave, resolution 2021-15.
Again, another item that we talked about last month, just some further development with this. The development team who's interested in the property is a related company to Highbridge Development, a prominent developer here. They've done quite a few of the office and manufacturing buildings right in that area. Going back and forth with them, there had been conversation about what the transaction would look like from a city-owned property to them going out there and making the investment in a phase two, which is somewhere over, I'd say approximately $10,000. What we agreed to with your approval is to allow us to, before they go in and spend that money, because they didn't want to spend the money and then have us come back and tell them, they can't have the property or it's not a feasible amount, that the Red Hawk Holdings LLC would have an option to take our option to acquire, if we acquire the property, to acquire it from us for $1, with the caveat that they will invest $100,000 in the property within 24 months. If they don't invest that, they'll be required to pay us $25,000. We would, because this was a city-owned property that we're receiving for $1, I don't like to try to flip properties and just make money from city-owned properties. If in the fact we end up with that $25,000, we would work with the city to find the appropriate use that they see fit.
So that 25, so two things, 25,000, if we were to receive it because they didn't make the investment.
Yep.
This actually needs to be allocated to a city project because it's fine.
It would go in a Schenectady account and we would
Okay,
work
go in
with
the
the
city
city.
account,
Yeah.
work with the city account.
Yeah.
What's the framework by which that 25,000 is gonna be captured? I know our clawbacks have been okay.
Yeah, no, this
We
will
want it to be
be,
a little different.
it is worked into the option contract right now. And my goal would be to build that into whether we'll work with an attorney. It can't be Rob Gatch because Rob Gatch is representing Highbridge Development. We'll probably bring in Rob Cohen. We'll do something where it's maybe a mortgage or something else that we can set up. So I haven't brought on an attorney to develop the mechanism yet, but
Okay.
I have no issue.
I don't want to spend
developing that.
$10,000 to come up with the template, right?
Yeah. Do you have any?
Question,
Please.
do we own it?
We do not own it.
So why don't this just go directly from the city to,
Well, the city,
that way we don't have to have.
to be in the
transaction on this.
the chain of title. So the way that this will work is right now we are able to access the property by court order. Okay, the city has not taken it. We have not taken it. Depending on what the results are of that environmental study, which we'll see, we can then determine if we are just transferring our right to them, so we don't enter the chain of title either. Or if maybe it's something that we do feel comfortable acquiring. There's a lot of different mechanisms, but I totally understand. We're not going to enter the chain of title, but I would like a hook in here of if we're transferring our interest in it, we can at least make sure they're not just sitting on the property and keeping it in its current state. So that was my goal.
I want to follow up with Kathy's thing.
Mhm.
This I didn't catch this reading before. Does this fit in with our property disposition policy? In other words, is somebody gonna come back and say, you've made a sweetheart deal with a company that you have been working with, and we have not had a chance to say, well, we have an interest in this?
Mhm.
I don't think anybody's gonna do that.
Yeah,
But you
no.
understand where I'm coming from.
This is a little different from our, we tend to work in residential properties. The city transferred it to us for a nominal value with the understanding, their access agreement is that Red Hawk Holdings will be able to enter the property to do this work. So their understanding, and my work with Andrew Colden at the city of Schenectady, is they're under the understanding that this property was going to be transferred for a nominal value. That's why we're getting it for that amount. The trying to put a hook in it so that work is done has been something that I felt was appropriate.
Yeah, I understand that, but you still understand the question. That's a different thing.